All right. A very good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon from whichever part of the world it is that you're joining us from. Karibuni sana. Welcome to the Afriforex Daily Analysis. This beautiful 22nd day of November 2024. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good time on the charts yesterday and also this week, and of course in everything else that you've been doing. But we're really glad that you could join us. Karibuni sana. So John Bogo is my name. I will be your host, doing the host, which is on a bit of a break. I know you've been seeing him a lot this week, but he is also here. He's working in the back office. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them. Of course, on the chat box, he will be getting back to you. And of course, and I will be looking at hopefully some of the questions or requests in the chat box towards the very tail end of this session. But as always, you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can ask even as the session does continue progressing on. So we're going to jump straight into business. So we'll start off by looking at the watch list, which is where we always start, as always. So you can see the watch list today in comparison to what we did have yesterday. A couple of changes, and hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So we will be trying to mix and match up the Swiss franc, the New Zealand dollar, and the Swiss franc, the New Zealand dollar, the euro, and the Swiss franc against everything else on the buy side. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So we will start off by looking at the currency pairs that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list. And you can see that's most definitely the yen pairs. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that had been pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere within here. We did want to see whether we could get a sign of the buyers showing up within this region here. And hopefully we did get a hold. We could have looked for those buying opportunities. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And you can see that the market came back in within this region right here. And during the US session, you can see that during the London session, market came down. There was an attempt of the buyers to come up, maybe some sort of a quick buy coming in. But of course, you can also see that during the US session, quite a number of attempts, and also during the Asian session. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the market to make some sort of higher highs and higher lows, which is ideally what we would have wanted to see. But you can't generally see that the market was fooling around within those two regions right there. So unfortunately, that's not a currency pair on our watch list for today. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have also gotten some buys. You can see the three regions right there that had been pointed out. In the morning, price was somewhere here. The price did seem like it came to the downside, came back up, but you can see that this was some sort of weak buyers who had come in. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the market holding within that region. And you can see that much later on, still during the London session, the market came, possibly was just looking for this level right here. You can see that there was a quick turnaround, but unfortunately, it's not something that could have been read, especially based on this pullback that was happening. Maybe unless you're basing it, on what had happened before within this region right here. But you can't see that. Unfortunately, I think that was the only opportunity. After that, the market more or less fooling around within those two regions right there. I guess it's something similar to what we saw in the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So I guess correlation was in play, especially for the yen pairs. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we were also watching out for buys. Unfortunately, the buys just couldn't come through. And you can see that these are the three areas that had been pointed out. Also, some sort of illustrations of what to expect. And you can see in the morning price was somewhere here. Couldn't get the buyers coming in. And of course, you can see that much later on, there was an attempt within here. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get the buyers really coming in. So unfortunately, also for this one, couldn't quite get some proper buying opportunities on it. So last but not least for review, we do have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, also trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas right here that had been pointed out. So unfortunately, also for this one, there wasn't anything clear in terms of us to look for buying opportunities, in as much as you can see that there was a fight that was going on within this region here. But remember, like we always point out, when the market breaks and holds beneath the red SNR, then that's exactly where we do end up calling it quits in terms of looking for buying opportunities. So I guess we can end up looking at a couple of screenshots. We got two. We're still grateful. So let's look at them real quick. So we did get this one. This one is from Caroline Mohair. If you're watching, shout out to you. So this is on gold. Seems like you got a very good buy. This was early today morning. Even looking at the dates right there, this was really good. As the market continued moving up, seems like you're already in the money and the day is just getting started. So this is really, really well done. So shout out to you for this one. And of course, good to see some good entries. I mean, a good entry, of course, in terms of stop loss management. Can see that your stop loss is high above within that region there. So I guess you're possibly looking at this buyer who's pushing up within here, but also your stop loss could be down here. But nonetheless, it's okay. I mean, in terms of making sure that you're also banking as much as possible, it's still good enough. So shout out to you for that. And of course, keep up the good work. So the next screenshot, this one is from Metrin. So this is on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Very, very good buy. Down within this region right here, exactly where you should have gotten the buy. Stop loss above your point of entry, which is good. The market was coming up. I know there were a couple of issues within here because I also did end up getting this exact trade, which we will be looking at in a bit. But there were quite a number of whipsaws that did happen within here. So unfortunately, even if you did not make money on this particular trade, but nonetheless, it was a very, very good attempt. And of course, in terms of money management, that was also really well done. So shout out to Betrin and Caroline for those two screenshots. We're really happy to see your progress. Remember, guys, if you do get any trades, whether good or bad, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are definitely there on the video description, and we will be more than happy to see what you're up to on the charts and also give you the much needed help that you need in case we do see something that you do need to adjust. So I guess we can end up shifting gears to matters today. So you can see the watch list right there. So we will be trying to see whether we can get opportunities on the Swiss franc, the euro, and the New Zealand dollar, mixing and matching that up with everything on the buy side. On the fundamental front today, there is going to be quite a lot that's going to be happening. Yesterday during the London session, there wasn't really much that was going on. So it was only during the US session that the markets really started to move. So you can see that there are quite a number of news events during the US session. Today, already there's been quite a number of news events during the Asian session, which we have already factored into our analysis. So you can see that there will be some GBP and some Euro news events that will be coming up at around 10. So we will wait and see whether we will be getting some changes on our watch list, but we'll definitely let you know. We'll try to post them on the Telegram channel. Hopefully you guys will get that information. I know the government has been blocking Telegram, especially due to the KCSE and the leakage of the exam papers. So they've been curbing the internet on that front, but we will see how we can get that information to you. But you can see that also looking forward, quite a number of Euro and GBP news events still that are going to be coming out. So I guess we could expect a lot of activity on the Euros and the Great British Pound pair. So make sure that you watch out for that. And of course, looking forward into the US session, you can see a number of Canadian dollar pairs and USD. So I guess today we will get a lot of activity on the charts. But of course, like we always point out, make sure that you stick within your risk parameters and always trade with the stop loss at all times. So I guess we can get started with the CHF pairs. So we'll mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're also trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that had been pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. Wanted to see the price possibly come back in within here, which unfortunately did not. And hopefully maybe break above this region to the upside, possibly to try to see whether we could get more conservative buying opportunities. And you can see that the market did actually end up breaking this region to the upside, came back in quite fast, tapped within this region and took off. And if you look at the time, this was at exactly 5:30, which is during the New York Stock Exchange Open. One of the fundamental times that we keep on pointing out. So you can see that from that time, the market did actually end up moving to the upside quite well. So for this one, for today, we're still going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So during the US session, the market went up. During the Asian session, we have the market pulling back in. Let's see if we can get the market possibly taking off from within here during the London session. If that does end up happening, then that would be good. But remember, we do need to see a sign of the big boy buyers showing up within this area right here. So let's just be a bit patient. Let's see what happens. But at least the pullback is coming in nice and slow, so which is really good. So we just need to see if you can't get some sort of an aggression of the buyers within this region to possibly push the market to the upside. So watch out for that. Also watch out for this other region here. Of course, if the big boys do decide that they want to push the market a bit lower, then at least we should also be ready for that region right there as well. So moving on into the next one. So this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc, also a currency pair we had yesterday. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. So you can see the three areas right there that had been pointed out. In the morning, price was here. Maybe we're expecting maybe to get some sort of activity by the sellers, just inside the buyers to come in. And you can see that the market just tapped within this area quite aggressive. The buyers showed up. And you can see that from there, the market did continue moving to the upside. Fortunately, we couldn't get the market coming back in all the way to within here. But if you look at what's happening right now, it's like the market has decided to come back in, all the way back in within this region right here. But of course, if you did get buys anywhere within here, you definitely did need to manage within this region right here. The market seemed like it broke to the upside. There's also this level right here that I think Mitch had pointed out possibly could end up getting, some sort of issues, but you can't see that the market just came shy of that area there. So for this one, the levels are the same as what we're watching out for yesterday. So the market hasn't really gone far and beyond the regions that we were watching out for yesterday. So you can see the pullback coming in. I think also maybe looking at it on a bigger time frame, you will see that definitely within this region, we have a bunch of sellers who could give issues. And I think this is definitely them who are giving issues. The market could react off this region right here, but there's also this buyers region down within this area right here that possibly we could find the market also reacting. So right now, the sellers are coming in aggressive. We will need to see them slowing down. Hopefully that slowdown happens within this region right here. And if we get maybe something like this, just thinking ahead of the market, then possibly we could get some good buying opportunities within this region. So let's see what happens on this one there. But also watch out for this region at the bottom right here. Definitely could be an area where we also could find some good and aggressive buying opportunities, but also remembering that that's the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our buying opportunities. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. And you can see the three regions that had been pointed out right here. But unfortunately, the market was quite choppy within this region right here. Fortunately, we couldn't get the market at least making higher highs or higher lows, or even if it took off from within here, at least coming back in within here. You can see that there was a serious fight that was going on within this area right here. It's like the sellers were really giving the buyers issues, and we just couldn't get a sign of any big buyers showing up. And you can see that the market was more or less moving sideways and held hostage within that area. So for this one, we're going to still be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. Let's also hope that the GBP news events that are going to be coming out at 10, and of course, even the ones that are going to be coming out throughout the day are possibly going to be positive. And hopefully we get the big, boys showing up and possibly get the market moving to the upside. But these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So we've adjusted the levels accordingly. Let's see if we can possibly even get the buyers showing up within here aggressively. That would be good. We still get a slowdown of the sellers, coming down within this region here, just like they've been coming down, then that would be good. At least you could attempt some buys coming up. You could target all the way high up within this region here. But of course, you will definitely need to do some money management within this area here. Also some sort of a minor SNR that's also somewhere within this region here. You also could find some issues. You could run into some headwinds, with the sellers. So just make sure that you also watch out for that. So that's pretty much it for this one. So also make sure that you watch out for the times. I mean, like we do keep on pointing out 11, which is the London market open. Of course, 10, we do have the Frankfurt market open. So you still could find the markets moving there. But so you still could watch out for that time as well. But watch out for 11, 4 o'clock, which is the US session open, and 5:30, which is the New York Stock Exchange open. So 11, 4, and 5:30. So moving on into the next one, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities on this one. So you can see the three regions right here that had been pointed out yesterday, which are still going to be the same areas as today. So in the morning, price was somewhere within this region here. And we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So the buyers showed up, the sellers came down. This was definitely a good region to look for the buying opportunities. Can't see that the market really struggled to get past this region to the upside. So this was actually a trade that I did end up taking. You can't see right there about 13 pip stop loss, targeting about 39, coming up all the way to within that region there, which did seem like it was a very good idea. And I mean, it was a good trade on paper. But unfortunately, the sellers within this region, there were quite a number of whipsaws that did happen within this region right here, which unfortunately really gave a lot of issues. So I got the first attempt, put stop loss at break even. The market came down. I did end up getting stopped out, got in on a second attempt as well. The market started to move to the upside. So I did actually end up putting the stop loss at break even when the market was high up within there. And unfortunately, the market came down again and stopped me out. Unfortunately, on the third attempt, which I did not take, that's the one that the market did actually end up taking off to the upside quite well. So you can't see the trade right there. And unfortunately, the market came back in, but it's okay. I mean, the markets do end up doing their thing. We try our best. But I guess at the end of the day, we don't really fight. And today is another day. So we're back at it today to try see what does end up happening. So wahenga walisema yaliyopita si ndwele, but there are some Kenyans here who say yaliyondwele si pite. So whichever suits you, but today is another day. So we will see if we can end up getting some buying opportunities on this one as well today. So the three areas we will be watching out for are the same ones. So do watch out for these three areas right here. It's a real shame that the trade yesterday worked out very well, but without me. And I think also my train did also jump in on the trade, but today is another day. Let's see what happens. So hopefully we can get the market breaking above this region to the upside. If we get a nice pullback after a nice strong breach to the upside, and a nice slow pullback within here, we could look for the buys. But I'm also thinking there is a possibility price could come back in within this region here. So, I mean, considering the fact that price broke above this region to the upside quite aggressively, we didn't get the market possibly giving us some sort of a retest within this area here. So I'm thinking for that reason, there's a possibility we could find the market just coming back in within this area. If that does happen, then at least we could look and try and see whether we could get some buying opportunities within there. But also remember the region at the bottom, there's also a possibility price can also come back in within there. If it does, then at least we should also be ready for that. So the next one, this is the Swiss franc against Japanese yen. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So you can see the pullback is currently happening, which is okay. Although the buyers look like they're coming up quite aggressive. We don't know if they'll get all the way to the top there, but at least we'll try see whether we can get some aggressive sellers showing up within here. At least if they do shut down these buyers who are currently pushing up, then that would be good. And at least we can try and see whether we can get some proper selling opportunities happening off this region here. Alternatively, also watch out for this region at the top here. There's a possibility that the big boys could possibly be targeting or eyeing that region there, especially considering the fact that the market broke to the downside, didn't quite pull back in within that region. You can't see some sort of a channel coming down as the market is coming down. So there's a possibility you still can't find the market coming back in anywhere within this region here. If it does, I think some very, very good selling opportunities can also happen of that region as well, but also remembering that that's going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our selling opportunities. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the CHF pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the Euro pairs, and we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. You can see the three regions right there that had been pointed out, and also some illustrations of what to expect. Unfortunately, the market couldn't pull back within that region, and when it broke to the downside, the pullback just came shy of this area here. But you can see that during the US session, the market really tanked, to the downside quite aggressively. So for this one, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some sort of a pullback coming in terms of looking for the selling opportunities right now. That's not really the best of ideas, because you can't see that the market is just holding above a region of support. So you're not quite sure whether these buyers are going to react. So it's either the market at least gives us some sort of a pullback and we get the market coming back in within there for us to look for the sells, or Alternatively, we can get the market breaking beneath this region to the downside. If we get the pullback coming in within that region, then at least we still can try to see whether we can get some selling opportunities within that area there. So do watch out for that. Also remember the region at the top. It's a bit of a long shot, but I mean, if the market needs that level or that price, then at least we should also be ready for that. So the next one is the euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sales as well. So you can see the three areas and also some illustrations of what to expect. Price was somewhere within here. So you can see that the market broke to the downside, just pulled back in, just shy of the area that Mitch had pointed out. And you can see that after that, the market continued coming down to the downside. And you can see that the market even picked up a bit more steam during the US session yesterday. So you can see that the pullback is happening on this one, and the pullback is coming in quite aggressive, but that doesn't mean that the sales won't happen. I mean, if the buyers do end up slowing down and the sellers do show up, then at least we could still try to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. There's definitely a level within here. Let's say we can start to see the buyers possibly starting to slow down, within this region as they approach this area right here. If they do, and we get maybe something like that, just thinking ahead of the market, then possibly we could try and see whether we could get some very good selling opportunities happening off there. But also remember, in case the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So let's see what happens on this one. But of course, based on how the pullback is coming in, a bit scary, but doesn't mean, like I'm pointing out, the opportunity won't happen. Let's just wait and see what happens during the London and the US session. So the next one, this is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sales. So you can see the three areas right there. So in the morning, price was somewhere within here. We did expect maybe to just get some sort of a pullback, for the market to just get into this region right here. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The sellers came down. The market attempted to come back up, still came shy of this area. I think this level right here where these sellers were sitting was pretty much a good price for the sellers. And you can see that the market came to the downside of this area right here. So, I mean, if you did get sales there, you did need to manage your trade within there. You can see that during the US Open, price was more or less attempting to push back to the upside, but the sellers still did end up coming into the downside quite aggressively. So this one was a bit messy and a bit choppy, not quite straightforward like, the rest of the euros where you can see that the market came down. This one was more or less coming down, but the buyers were really giving issues. So right now, let's see whether we can get the market coming back in within here. I think there's a possibility if we do get the price coming back in within this region right here, then hopefully we could get some very good selling opportunity, happening off this area right here. So hopefully we get something like that. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, but also watch out for the region at the top. Also a possibility price can come back in within there. So watch out for this region, definitely a region you will need to manage, and also the region at the top. If the sellers do need a much better price, then hopefully we could get the market coming back in within that region. So the next one is the euro against the US dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sales, and you can see the three areas that had been pointed out right there, and then some sort of an illustration of what to expect. Unfortunately, the market didn't do quite that. I just held within there, came to the downside, bounced off this region. This was a trade that was actually timing, which unfortunately just got missed. The market just came so close within that area there, and you can see that after that, the market really came to the downside quite aggressively. So this one, definitely a missed opportunity, but of course, today is another day, so we'll be back on the charts to see whether we can get some proper and good trading opportunities. So for this one, we're back at it. Let's see if we can get some sales happening, but these are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So let's see if we can get the market either bouncing off this region right here to the upside. Maybe the market might come back in within here, and I really hope it does, considering the fact that, price broke this region to the downside, and there wasn't much of a retest there. You can see that there are also some sort of sellers within here. So we'll also be watching out to see, in case, the buyers do end up starting to come up, but they run out of steam within this region here, then I guess we could possibly try and see whether we could get some sales within this region to come to the downside. But just make sure that you watch out for this area. I think there's a high probability price might just come back in within this area. but also watch out for the region at the top. I mean, the sellers who are currently in control of the market right now are definitely sitting within there. In case the market comes up all the way to within that region and they're taken out, then I guess at that point in time, there's not much of a point in terms of looking for selling opportunities. So last but not least, for the euro pairs, we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get sells. And we really do hope the euro fundamentals do end up supporting the selling opportunities that we're going to be watching out for. So hopefully the fundamentals do end up coming out weak for the euro. That would be really awesome. So let's see what happens on this one. These are the three areas. The buyers are coming up quite hot. We just need to see them slow down. Hopefully we can get the market starting to slow down within here. Then we get a sign, of the big sellers showing up. We could possibly try and see whether we could get sales within here. But if they can't slow down within here, especially if the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, then there's a possibility the price might just be coming back in within this area right here. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Watch out for the times. And of course, remember to also watch out for your economic calendar. Like I pointed out, there are quite a number of fundamentals that are going to be coming out. So I guess we could expect a lot of activity, especially on the euros and the Great British Pound pairs. So just make sure that you also watch out for your economic calendar, at least so that you're well aware when the news events are coming up. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the euros. So I guess we can move on to the last set of currency pairs, which are going to be the New Zealand dollar pairs. So we're going to start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. And you can see the three regions right there that had been pointed out and also illustrations of what to expect. Price was somewhere within here, did break to the downside, pulled back in. If you look at the times, this was at exactly 5:30, which is during the US session open and the New York Stock Exchange open. And after that, you can see that the market did actually end up coming to the downside quite well, still moving down even during the Asian session. So for this one for today, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. In terms of looking for selling opportunities now, it's not really the best of ideas. Let's wait and see if we can get the market pulling back in. Hopefully back within this region here, then at least we could try and see whether we could get some proper sales happening off that area there. Alternatively, if the market does end up breaking this region to the downside, something similar to what happened here, where the market broke to the downside, pulled back in within this area, then after that, the sales happened. If we get that happening within this area, then at least we can also try see whether we can get some selling opportunities here. So do watch out for that. Also remember the region at the top, bit of a long shot, but like I always keep on pointing out, it's better to have something and not need it rather than need something later on and you don't have it. So just make sure that you also keep that level there as well. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to time and see whether we could get some buys. And you can see the three region and also an illustration of what we were expecting. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the pullback happening. The buyers broke to the upside. The pullback just came shy of this region right here. It seems that there was some level here that I guess was good enough for the buyers. And you can see that off that region, the market pushed itself off that region to the upside. And you can see that today during the Asian session, the market has really gone to the upside. So for this one, the three areas we will be watching out for, that one right there, which is the conservative, we have the aggressive down within this area here, and we do have the semi-aggressive conservative region within this area. So you can see that the pullback has happened, or it's happening right now, which is okay. Hopefully we can get the market reacting. Let's see what happens during the London session, especially these sellers right here. If they do end up getting challenged, and the market does actually end up coming down and they slow down and the market holds within this region, I think you could possibly try and see whether we could get some buying opportunities there. I'll definitely be trying to see whether I can get buys if that does end up being the case. So that's one scenario. But of course, in case the sellers do end up continuing to be adamant and continue to push the market to the downside, then I guess we'll just have to wait and see if we can get the market slowing down, hopefully within this region here. And you could find that maybe during the London session, the market could just be setting itself up. Even if it comes all the way to the downside, we don't really impose what us guys want. We analyze to the best of our ability. We have an idea of what we want the market to do. But in case the market doesn't do what we want, we'll just have to end up, adjusting our plan. So I guess if the buys do end up seeming like they're going to happen off this region right here, it's still fine. In any case, the risk to reward coming up from within this region to the upside is even way much better than actually this region right here coming up, which I guess we'll just have to wait and see what option the market does end up giving us. So that's pretty much it for the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So for the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we were also trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. So you can see the three regions there that Mitch had pointed out, also some illustrations of what to expect. In the morning, price was here. We did expect price to break to the upside. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The pullback came in, and you can't see that the market came back in within this region here. Although the market really took a long time to turn around within this area here, you can only see that it's only today during the Asian session. That's when the buy did actually end up happening and taking off. So for this one, let's wait and see if we can get the market hopefully breaking above that region to the upside. If that does end up happening, then at least we could try see whether we could get some buys. The levels are more or less the same. The plan is the same. The market did a full cycle. Yesterday morning, it was more or less within the same region. It came down, came back up, it's back in within here. But there's a possibility, and I really hope that the market does end up coming down. There are quite a number of levels within this region here that, you know, the market could possibly end up struggling, coming back down, maybe somewhere within here, somewhere within here. But hopefully, definitely, the market comes in somewhere as close as possible, you know, within this region right here, the better in terms of looking for the buying opportunities. But let's see if we can get that option. In case we don't, and the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside. So I guess it's something similar to what we were expecting yesterday. Then I guess we could definitely try and see whether we could get some buys. The only problem with looking for this buy right here is the fact that if you hit the buy here, when the market comes up within this region, you'll definitely need to do some money management because this is your next problem area. If you look at what the market has been doing, especially in the last 2 days, and of course, even today during the Asian session, the buyers have really been struggling to break above this region to the upside. So I would best suggest, okay, if you're going to hit the buy here, if the market can't get past this region, you just need to manage your trade. However, I think the most safe buys or the safest buys will definitely happen if we clear this region to the upside and the market pulls back in within this region here. I think this buy here might be much safer than actually trying to squeeze yourself within this region right here, based on the fact that you can definitely see that there's an SNR within that region there. But of course, in case the market comes back in within here and we get some good buys, I mean, by the time the market comes in within this region, even if you end up managing, you'll end up managing something good. So let's just wait and see which option the market gives us. But definitely in terms of the buyers showing up, that's really good. Let's just hope the fundamentals on the GBPs also end up supporting the bids for the buys that we do have on that one. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten sells. Can't see the three areas right there that had been pointed out. Also some illustrations of what to expect. Price was somewhere within here. So it broke to the downside, came back in, held within here for pretty much the whole of the London session. Then during the US session, that's when the market started its journey to the downside. And you can see that also during the Asian session, the big boys have also stepped in during the Asian session and the market has continued to come down. So for this one, let's see if we can get the market possibly pulling back. If we do get that, then at least we could try see whether we could get some proper selling opportunities, either somewhere within here, somewhere within this region, at least further away from this region and as close as possible within this area. In case the market pulls back in, then at least we could get some good sells. But also in case the market breaks and holds within here, I think for this one, we'll need to see a bit more. Could be a bit risky jumping in on the sells here. I mean, even if the market does end up seeming like it's holding within here, I think unless it breaks free of this region to the downside and comes back in and possibly does something like that, personally, that's when I would look to see whether I could get the sells here, because within this area here, you could easily end up getting stuck. And also considering the fact that, you know, we also need to see some proper pullbacks. If you look at the fact that this one has been coming down the last 2 days, definitely a lot of people are definitely trying to see whether they can get some selling opportunities. And I mean, if you jump in on the sales now, there's a very high probability you're actually joining the 95% of the people who actually don't end up making money in Forex. So just need to make sure that maybe we could get some proper pullback. And I really hope that does end up happening, especially if a lot of the people who are jumping in on the sales now do actually end up getting stopped out. And the market gives some sort of a pullback, especially something like this coming back in within there, then this would be good. At least a good number of them will be stopped out. And also very good number of them will also start looking for buying opportunities. And that gives us a good opportunity to make money from them. So just make sure that you don't end up being part of the people that actually end up getting fooled. So do watch out for that, but also watch out for the region at the top right there. I mean, in case the market comes in within this region, then definitely also a region where we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities or aggressive selling opportunities. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, new entrant, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. These are the three areas we will be watching out for. You can see the pullback coming in, which is good. Definitely lots of people who are jumping in on late sales within here. Right now, this is the hour of reckoning. So let's see if we can get the market possibly coming up, especially if it breaks above this SNR right here to the upside. I know a lot of people are definitely going to be incited in terms of looking for the buying opportunities. In case we get something like that, let's say the market sets itself up, then let's say at around 5:30 price is back within somewhere within this region. After doing that whole, pull back and the rollover phase within this region here, then at least we could possibly get some good selling opportunities coming down. So let's see what happens on this one. I think potentially we could get some good opportunities on the yens. Most of them are actually pulling back. And remember, in terms of correlation, if you see something happening on one, especially when the market now starts to turn to the downside, right now you can see that they're all more or less on the pullback, the yens to be specific. So you'll find that maybe when the market does actually end up turning, especially if you see that on one yen, have a look at the others to try see if it's something that's happening on the rest. If it is, and you see that, then that means that the big boys are possibly starting to come in, which is a good sign. So even if you do gear up to jump in on any of the yens, even if not all of them, at least you'll have that at the back of your mind, and that could give you that extra confidence just to know that there's a higher probability of your trade working out. So do watch out for that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So I guess we can end up moving on into the indices and the commodities. So you can see right there, there's only been one change on that front. So it's just the US 30 or the Dow Jones joining the buy side. So we'll see how that ends up going. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that are highlighted that we're watching out for, and of course also some other levels in between that were also added, just minor levels. And you can see that in the morning price was somewhere here. We're expecting maybe there was a possibility price was just going to tap in within that region, then come down, or maybe come down and maybe come back in within this region before coming down within here. So the market was more or less fooling around within these areas. So you can see that during the London session, price was within a support region, went to the upside, came back in within there. If you look at the time at exactly 5:30, the sellers did actually end up coming down and pushing the market down quite aggressively. Unfortunately, we couldn't get all the way till within this region, but you can see that there was this area that Mitch had pointed out, and I guess that's where the market did end up tapping back until. So for this one, for today, these are the three areas we will still be watching out for. In as much as there was a lot of activity on this one, but the market has not really moved far and beyond the regions that we were watching out for yesterday. And the story is more or less the same. So we'll be waiting to see what happens. The sellers did react aggressively. The buyers pushed them all the way back to within this region. So for this one, I'm thinking there's a possibility if the sellers are gonna be coming back in, there's a high probability the market will possibly need to go higher than this in a bid to possibly look for those much better prices. In case that happens and the market comes down and holds within this region to the downside, then I guess at that point in time, we could find a very good selling opportunity coming in. So that's the first scenario. Alternatively, what could happen is if the market breaks above this region to the upside, and the market actually holds to the upside of this region right here. So goes to the upside, the sellers don't end up reacting, or even if they do, but the market comes back and actually holds to the upside of this area, then I guess at that point in time, selling opportunities will be over. So at that point in time, we could actually start to look for buying opportunities. So we're more or less in a catch-22 situation, but the sellers within here, they're still holding, and that's the reason why we are still watching out to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. Remember, it's always good to be patient, wait for the breach and the hold on the pullback. So, there could be a lot of breakout traders who could start looking for buys, especially when the market does this move to the upside. Definitely lots of guys are going to be hitting the buys. Whether those buys are going to work or not, that's dependent on what ends up happening after. And that's the reason why it's always best to actually end up waiting for the pullback to get that confirmation, because a lot of breakout traders can actually end up getting caught up within this situation right here. So just make sure that you're not one of those guys. So just be a bit patient, wait and see if you can get the breach and the pullback and the hold on the pullback. So the next one, this is the US 30. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. And of course, that was purely dependent on the fact that, price was holding beneath this region to the downside. So we wanted to see the sellers come in. They did come in, but you can't see that the buyers came up. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the market breaking and holding beneath this region to the downside. And once that did end up happening, then it meant that we could have actually looked for the buying opportunities to push the market to the upside. So if you get that scenario like this on the NAS 100, so you can't see the breach, the pullback, and the hold, the confirmation that the market has actually broken. You can't see that that's when you can actually start to look for buying opportunities. So make sure that you watch out for something similar on the NAS 100. In case that happens, then at least you can start to look for your buying opportunities confidently. So for this one, we can confidently look for buying opportunities today. So watch out for these three areas right here. Right now, the market is just attempting to come back in. Seems like some sort of pullback, some sort of sideways movement that's going on within here. But at least if we can get the market tapping back in within here, there's definitely some sort of an SNR within this area. And I think maybe that's the level that the market needs to tap in before the buyers do actually show up. So we'll be watching out for that region right there. But of course, if we do get the buys coming up, we could target all the way up here. But of course, just make sure that you also watch out for minor SNRs, to be specific. There's one here and one somewhere within here. If you get the market coming up and possibly really struggling to break above these regions, might be a good time to do some proper money management on your trade. So watch out for the region at the bottom as well. It's a bit of a long shot, but remember, for as long as we're holding above that red SNR to the upside, the bias is still to try to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. And of course, in case the market breaks and holds beneath the red SNR to the downside, then at that point in time, we'll start to look for selling opportunities much more confidently. If you look for them now, just be well aware that those are counters. So the next one, this is silver. So for silver, yesterday and today, the bus is still to try to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. You can't see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out. Also some illustrations of what to expect. The market came back in within here. We couldn't get the big boys really showing up within that area. The market just came shy of this area, turned around. Can't see the big boys just showed up. I guess within this scenario right here, the sellers did slow down, and you can't see that the market did start to move to the upside. Although this was much earlier today during the Asian session. And you can see that the big boys are still attempting to push to the upside, but we'll try to see whether we can get some sort of a pullback. In terms of looking for the buys now, be a bit patient, because if you hit the buy here, your stop losses will still have to be down within here, and you might not get a proper risk to reward, because already we had some sort of a problem area within this region here. So that's the reason why I've illustrated this, because we will be expecting, hopefully we can get the sellers reacting, and we need to see their reaction, because you can't see that the previous time, this was during the New York Stock Exchange Open. You can't see that the sellers came in quite aggressive off that region. So there are definitely some sellers who are sitting here. We need to see what reaction we do get. If we do get a mediocre reaction, then that's good. And at least if the market holds within this region to the upside, then at least we could try to see whether we could get some proper buying opportunities off this area here. So that's exactly what I will be waiting for. But also watch out for this region at the bottom here. I mean, if the sellers do react and the market comes down back within this area here, because you can't quite know what they might do. But if we do get the market back within this region, especially during the US session, then you could find maybe some proper aggressive buying opportunities could also take place within that area. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now for gold, the bus was to try to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out. Also illustrations of what to expect. The market broke to the upside. We're expecting the pullback. The pullback came in, although you can't see that the market was really fighting within this area right here before the market attempted to go to the upside. But even the move to the upside didn't quite happen yesterday. It was actually today during the Asian session. So it seems like the Asian big boys were very interested, especially after the London session, the market broke to the upside. the hold within here during the US session. And I guess when the Asian big boys got down to business, they found that the market had already been set up for them by the US and the London big boys, and all they had to do was push the market to the upside. So right now, the game plan is wait and see if you can get a pullback. Don't chase the buys. There are definitely lots of people who are chasing buys here. It doesn't mean that the buys can't work, but you have a higher risk of being stopped out, especially if you hit the buy when the price is high up within this region here. There's a possibility the market can still come back in within here. But there's also this level here that I will be watching out for to see what happens, because you could find that maybe the market might react off there, maybe just come back in within this area here, and you could find like some sort of a proper buying opportunity could also happen within this region here. So I also will be watching out to see what happens within that area there. But of course, in terms of looking for the buys now, the reason why I'm saying there's a high risk is also because it's also very obvious. You know, the most obvious trades most of the time tend to be lost trades. So right now, lots of people are chasing the buys. Everyone can see the market is going up. It's very obvious. So it's best to wait and see if the market can maybe attempt to go up higher on the pullback. We get a pullback that we can read. Then ideally we can try and see whether we can jump in on some proper buying opportunities, making sure that we're watching out for the highest part that the market would have gotten high up until, especially when the market breaks to the upside. But also, even if you will be targeting areas much higher than this, just making sure that you do manage, you know, within that region right there. So let's wait and see what ends up happening on this one. But of course, let's just wait and see whether we can get some sort of a pullback. So don't let FOMO get you. You know, when you look at the charts, especially when they're going up, let's say if you are thinking of getting some buying opportunities yesterday and you find that the market has already moved, you tend to end up getting FOMO, you know, the fear of missing out, and you hit the buy right there. And that's exactly when, you know, the market does end up turning to the downside. So just make sure you don't end up getting caught up in that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So let's see if there's anything on the chat box. So I'm seeing Paul Kiari there. Good to see you, PK here. Saying good morning back to you. Hope you're doing well. I see Ian Abere. You're saying hello, sir. What's your Telegram channel? I can't see that. Mitch has put it right there for you. So I guess that's pretty much it from me and from us this week. I want to thank everyone so much for making the time to be here with us today, and of course this week. So hopefully you're getting a lot of value in terms of your trading, and based on what we do give you here. Of course, also remember to reach out to us. Our contact details are there on the video description. Also remember to give us a like and a subscribe. I mean, if we have helped you, you can also help us back by liking and subscribing. That does also end up helping out our channel quite a lot. And it's actually free of charge. So feel free to subscribe. So I guess we'll see you guys next week. Next week is going to be the last week we're going to be doing the daily analysis this year. So we're going to be shutting things down next week on Friday, but at least we do have the whole of next week, which is pretty much another 5 days of trading. And of course, today we still do have a lot of opportunities. So also make sure that you do look forward to that. We'll be taking an early Christmas break. I know we came in a bit late in the year, but also the charts are also starting to slow down. So I guess we can also end up taking a break, but it doesn't mean that the charts are not going to be moving. We'll definitely find out a way of how we can also end up giving you the watch lists every day, even as we move into the Christmas period. So I guess we'll see you guys next week, and do enjoy your weekend. So with that, may the peeps be with you. God bless, and bye for now. Happy trading.